Hey, everybody, this is Brian Dodd at Brian Dodd on Leadership, just bringing you this week's leadership moment. And I want to start by asking you a question. Are you fearful right now? Are you concerned? Is there things going on in your life and in your ministry and in your business and at your nonprofit or athletic organization that's just causing some real concern about what the future holds? Well, obviously, if the answer to those questions is yes, you're not alone. And so, what I want to do is just bring a word to you today of encouragement and just talk with you a little bit about 7 lessons that I think you could use as you navigate these times. When I was initially taken to church as a 12-year-old, dragged to church would probably be a better phrase. I didn't enjoy the services, didn't enjoy the sermons, and I blame that on me, not the pastors of the church I attended at the time. But the first Bible story or Bible verses that ever made sense to me was what I'm going to read you right now. Very famous passage, 7 verses. It's out of Mark chapter 4, verses 35 through 41. And on the same day when evening had come, he, being Jesus, said to them, the disciples, let us cross over to the other side. Now, when they had left the multitude, they took him, Jesus, along in the boat as he was, and the other little boats were also with him. And a great windstorm arose, and the waves beat into the boat, so that it was already filling. But he was in the stern asleep on a pillow, and they awoke him, and he said to them, Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing? Then he arose and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, Peace, be still. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. But he said to them, these are the disciples on the boat, Why are you so fearful? How is it that you have no faith? And they feared exceedingly and said to one another, Who can this be that even the wind and the sea obey him? Yesterday in Georgia, it was a standard Georgia summer day, 95 degrees, uh, unbelievably hot, bordering on miserable. The humidity index was off the charts. And so, what happens sometimes in environments like that, somewhere between about 4 and 5 o'clock, this incredible thunderstorm erupted in Georgia. Heavy rains, heavy winds, just a very, very not violent because no tornadoes were involved, but a very heavy thunderstorm. It arose quickly, arose immediately, and left in about an hour or two. And it kind of reminded me of this story. And it kind of reminded me about what we're all facing right now as leaders, wherever it is that we may lead. And I want to bring to you 7 quick things out of that passage that I hope encourage you today and allow you to move forward in your leadership. And number one, storms are not always your fault. I love the phrase it said, he said to them, let us cross over to the other side. Jesus initiated this trip. Now, if Jesus is omniscient, he either knew the storm was coming or he didn't. Well, obviously he's omniscient. He knew that a great storm would arise, but he was going to take them through it because he had a lesson for them and for us throughout all of our time here on earth and all of eternity through the word that he wanted to teach us. So there are 2 storms, storms of correction, storms of perfection. Storms of correction are just mistakes you make, and you're just dealing with the consequences of them. Things you said, things you did, decisions you made, actions you took, the way you treated people. A storm of correction came as a result of that. I heard a great statement recently that just said, wisdom comes from experience, and experience comes from mistakes. And so a lot of people, through storms of correction, hopefully they gain experience and hopefully they gain wisdom. But it's just, storms as a result of your making. But then there are storms of perfection, storms you had nothing to do with. That God had just orchestrated events. You were going through them to make you more like him. And none of us caused the coronavirus. None of us, caused a lot of the issues that we're dealing with. None of us caused the economic fallout that we're going to see from this and have been seeing from it. These are storms of perfection that many of us are going through, and we just have to trust God through the process. Point number 2, great storms can arise instantly, just like yesterday in Georgia and just like right here. What happened, the Sea of Galilee is located between two mountain ranges. Cool air can come off the mountains down into the sea and hit the warm air that's over the water. And great storms as a result of that can pop up instantly on the sea. And I know for many of you, many of the pastors I talk to, almost every pastor I talk to is just getting hit with one instant storm after another. And it's just coming up, and no matter what decision they make, 50% of the people are incredibly angry at them, related to what's going on in their ministry. There's never been a tougher time to be a pastor, and they're having to deal with instant pop-up storms almost on a daily basis. Point number 3, these storms can be overwhelming. It says in here that the great windstorm arose and the waves beat into the boat. Do you feel overwhelmed right now? Do you feel like there's so many fires, I can't put them all out? I'm fighting battles on multiple fronts. I'm fighting battles with my staff, battles with the budget, battles with technology, battles with the community, battles with individual people in the church, battle after battle after battle. And then, of course, we got standard stuff like home lives and just a course of life that we all deal with. And it's overwhelming to many pastors that I'm talking to right now. And they're great men of faith, and they're leaning into God, which is going to lead to my next point. But if you're feeling overwhelmed right now, there's a good reason for that. And you probably are overwhelmed, which leads me to this next point. Great storms scare even the most experienced leaders. These were fishermen that were on the boat with Jesus. They'd seen storms before, but they'd never seen a storm like this. And it caused them to be afraid and have fear and anxiety and worry and concern and sleepless nights. That's what you're dealing with right now. We've never faced storms as leaders like we're facing right now. We are going into the unknown. No idea is a bad idea. We're all trying everything we can to try to make it through this time. And we've never faced this before. And we're trusting God, and we're leaning into Him because He's a loving Father who loves His children and cares for us and has a plan for our life. But these are challenging times, and I think we need to just admit that as leaders, that there are many times we don't know what to do, and we can't make everybody happy, and we're doing the best we can and trying to make the best decisions we can, but we're concerned just like you are. And I think that's a healthy thing to be able to say that, which then means we can all come to this next point, and that is that Jesus is still in the boat. He may appear asleep, and we may be wondering what's going on and where's God, but Jesus is still in the boat with us, and He can still calm any sea just by saying, "Peace, be still." And so I know for a lot of us now, that's our prayer every day. God, please say, "Peace, be still." Please bring healing to our nation. Please bring healing to our country. Please help us, Lord. We need you like we've never needed you before. Peace, be still. Be there with us. And here's the interesting thing. Point number 6. All storms have one thing in common. And if you're an experienced student of leadership, you know what it is. All storms pass. The storm yesterday in Georgia, it passed. This storm, we don't know when. And we're praying that God goes ahead and ceases the storm. But this COVID storm will pass. These other issues that we're dealing with, they will pass. The economic challenges, they will pass. The housing crisis we're about to hit, it will pass. The Q3 economic challenges as a result of the PPP money running out, and furloughs and job layoffs and schools not starting back and pay cuts and all of those things. This will pass. All storms pass. But then here's my real statement of hope for the future, and that's point number 7. If we lean into Jesus, if we trust Jesus, if we follow Jesus, and when the storm passes, we're going to be better on the other side. A lot of people, when they talk about Mark chapter 4, don't leak in the first part of Mark chapter 5, which is when they did get to the other side, Jesus healed the man who was demon possessed. And I don't know what God has planned for you when we get to the other side, but if we stay faithful and we trust him and we live a God-honoring life and we get better as leaders every day, make the best decisions we can, innovate, pivot, invest in our team, serve others, provide hope. If we do everything we can and then God does what only he can, when we get to the other side, there's going to be something significant waiting for us on the other end. So I hope that encourages you today. Easy for me to say. I know these are difficult times. I know they're challenging times. There's not a pastor I talk to that's not struggling in some area. And I just want to encourage you today. Jesus is still in the boat with you. He's getting ready to say, peace, be still. The storm is going to pass, and God's got something great for us on the other side. It's been an absolute joy to invest in you today. If I can ever serve you or your teams in any way, reach out to me on any of my social media channels, and I'd be glad to serve you. Thank you again. Hope you have a great day. God bless.